On this week's show, we're discussing Assassin's Creed Remakes teased by Ubisoft CEO, PlayStation Plus games for the month of July, and the best video games that really deserve a sequel. All that and much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly GamerGuild Podcast, your show where we round up all of the week's video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV, available also up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. Your players for this week are myself, Chris, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
Hello, everyone.
Hello indeed, and welcome to the show, folks. We do have a great show lined up for you, but before we get into all that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring-a-ding-ding that bell so you are kept in the loop with all the great content we do here on the channel, just like my complete playthrough of Uncharted Golden Abyss, Richie's playthrough, with slight gaps in between of Zelda.
Just small ones,
What's the biggest gap you've had so far? This is part 5, has just gone up this week.
I think it's about 5 months.
So have you been playing this game over a year now, would you be saying? Probably.
I'd have to check to see when episode 1 went live, but it's possible.
Quite possible. So if you want to check out the slowest ever playthrough of Legend of Zelda, not Breath of the Wild, which one is it again?
Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time on the N64.
What I was talking about actually on that live stream was it's become my game that I play when there isn't a game that we want to showcase to the channel and that you and Rob are both not available.
Yeah.
So that niche where I'm streaming on my own, but there isn't a specific game that we want to showcase. That's when I reach for Zelda.
Reach for Zelda, of course, and Zelda will always be there. But we do have some Zelda games coming out later this year as well, so yes, we'll get into that. Of course, we'll be back this week with another live stream, so do check that out. Go check out the rest of the content, as I mentioned, on this show. Shout out to our wonderful guild heroes, the folks who support the channel that extra little bit further. From as little as 99p, you can get this show early, you can get the live streams early, you sometimes get special unique streams and stickers and badges next to your name in the live chat, so thank you to those wonderful folks over there. Also, the people who go check out our merch store, we've got some great summer gear lined up, so if you're getting a bit hot and sweaty out there, go and nab yourself a fancy t-shirt or a sports shirt or a hat to keep that sun off your precious back. Richie, before we get into the thick of the show, what have you been playing other than Zelda this week?
Other than Zelda, what have I been playing? It mainly, to be honest, has been South Park Stick of Truth.
Oh, you're really getting into that then. Is this through the portal?
Mainly through the portal. Did I tell you, have I said on the stream yet, or any content that I got the platinum in Assassin's Creed 2?
Yes, you did last week, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, I am one trophy away from the platinum on Stick of Truth.
Right, okay. So we're almost wrapped up.
All I need to do is complete the entire game without letting a party member die.
Oh, so it's just a simple thing to get through then.
It's not that bad. It is just a playthrough, and the game's not that long when you can skip all the collectibles and all the other stuff.
Just golden path it.
Yeah, that's all I'm doing. So I hope that by the next time we record, I should have that platinum.
Interesting.
But I am away for 3 days next week. So
have you got anything planned afterwards? Like, have you got your next big thing ready lined up? Because it's that weird time of the year, isn't it, where the back of the year is stacked, the front of the year was quite busy, but I feel like we're both in this place where there's nothing actually like pressing.
Nothing concrete. I haven't made my decision on what's next. Part of me was hoping that the news this week for the PlayStation Plus games would have Jedi Survivor in there. Though I saw a few rumors that it could be.
I mean, it would have been about a month. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, because although I have it on Xbox, I've already talked about like I'm finding it much easier to play on PlayStation just because of my current weird living situation where I'm barely in my own house nowadays. So it's just easier to play on my portal. So I don't know what's next. I did buy Cyberpunk in the Days of Play sale, so maybe I could go play a bit of that. But I'm also looking on the horizon going, do I want something big and meaty when there's a couple of games that I definitely want to play coming up in the next few months?
It's always an interesting one with the summer. especially like this summer with the Euros being on. A lot of my spare time's been taken up with watching just the football that's been on. As a note, I'm very well aware I'm wearing an England shirt, and this show goes live for our members early, so hopefully Happy Faye's still around. But if it goes live on Monday, we may no longer be in the competition. I'm holding out hope we are still. We've got a very lucky draw, which we probably didn't deserve at all so far. Predictions for this Sunday, Richie? We're in the knockout phases, top of the group. Some positives on it. We won't dwell.
It's hard to know because the last half of the last game we played, we started to look like a decent team. That looks like it could be a point where we build from.
Mm-hmm.
But it could also be a case of they were terrible for 2.5 games and got the asses handed to them at half time.
Prediction?
So I think it's going to be 1-0 England.
I'm going to go...
The squad is there. I think we have one of the strongest squads in the tournament. We just need to figure out how to use it.
Yeah, I think,
and yeah, we should have enough in that squad to go deep in the tournament, especially with should be relatively easy side the bracket.
I mean, the whole group was, but I'm going to go for a modest 3-0 England victory.
Oh wow, you're being optimistic.
I'm just waiting. I feel like something needs to click, and I think it's once it does, the dam will break, and I think they'll just if we can get 1 or 2 early on, I don't know. I feel like at some point we need to, because these are the type of teams that we do put away quite well in qualifiers, and it's just some reason we get to a competition and we put the brakes on. I feel like there's that much pressure been building. Something needs to give, and either we get our asses handed to us and we're out and we're home, or we step up a gear.
You look at the players we've put out there, and all used to high tempo attacking, like high line pressing football, and we've spent pretty much 3 games camped on the edge of our own box. It's like that. None of these players actually play like that for the clubs. So why are they doing it for England?
Yeah, well, we'll put a pin in that because we might be out, we might have won, we might be through to the quarterfinals. So who knows? But we could make a whole show, trust me, between me and Richie talking
just
about this.
Ranting.
But for the benefit of our Scottish viewers and listeners and our people in Europe and across the world, we'll put a pin in that now. But that's what we'll be doing this week as well. Probably a couple of beers and watching the football. I did actually realise on PlayStation, I said I went through like my EAFC FIFA burst recently. I've racked up 130 hours on this version of FIFA, which is like, wow.
Yeah, because you probably play most days. You probably
when you get into it,
If you play a game or two, you might kill an hour a day.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you might spend an entire evening, so it racks up.
It really does. I was looking at some other things I've been playing recently. Like I think Alan Wake 2 was like I'm just short of 50 hours in total, and a couple of other things. But I was like, damn, like it when it gets you, it gets you. But we'll get into all that and other things. I did get the platinum in the Jack and Daxter Precursor Legacy just nice. Today, so that's been wrapped up. Nice short one. Again, I think I mentioned on last week's show, it feels like the natural progression from Crash Bandicoot on. You can see the DNA throughout it in the music and the design and the simplicity of the game for what was ultimately a PlayStation 2 title. And yeah, it was just a bit of a collectathon, collect some eggs, do some little side missions, explore the map. It was very much Crash Bandicoot if it was made more Mario 64 open world as opposed to being linear levels. And I enjoyed it. It was quite an easy one. I think probably got the platinum in 15 hours, give or take. A couple of frustrations because of the age of the game where it would have been improved if it was made today. But
I mean, I've just been playing Assassin's Creed 2 recently. I understand how the aging of games. Like
it's just
you have to look it through the lens of when it came out.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like there's like blocky elements to it where you get caught on a lot of the, like just even going up some steps, like your character gets stuck on some steps sometimes, and I can imagine with you it's climbing up walls and jumping off buildings back, so where the parkour is not quite as fluent as it would be. But again, I think the great thing with us is because we grew up with that, we can totally just overlook it and be like, I'm very well aware this is 20, 25 years old in some cases.
In Assassin's Creed 2, I'd go as far as say the parkour is just not fluid at all. Even when you're on the rooftops, there'll be little chimneys getting away. It just doesn't feel smooth.
Yeah, the hardest missions.
At the time, it did though. But yeah,
the hardest missions are when they ask you to chase someone down, and just civilians or a random piece of fence or you'll be so close to them, you're like, right, I've got them.
4 identical guys carrying the same box.
Yeah, and you'll just be about to get your target, and then you'll jump right off the rooftops to the left onto the alley below. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was, like I said, Jack and Daxter was a gap in my kind of PlayStation history and Naughty Dog history, so I was enjoyed to get, and I think that's now my 6th platinum of the year. So I'm on track to match my 8th I got last year, which, having a child, I think is quite good going, all things said and done. With no dirty platinums in there. They've all been decent ones. So, again, similar to you, I'm kind of like looking what comes out, what do I get back to. I did play a little bit more of Still Wakes the Deep, so I'll probably finish that. Now I've got a little pocket of time. But overall, nice and good. And speaking of Assassin's Creed, there's some Assassin's Creed details in this week's news. So, Richie, if you will do us the honours of introducing us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka the news.
The news. And of course, the news is brought to you every week by our wonderful guild heroes, the people I mentioned who support the channel that extra little bit further. You can do so as well if you've been watching and listening along for quite some time now, as we head towards our 5th anniversary. Why not give to the channel? 99p. There are obviously higher tiers, which we would appreciate you doing that, but it really does help give us that moral boost. It affords us to do things like the podcast distribution. So if you are an audio listener, that happens off the back of our wonderful members who give to the channel, and then we can reinsert that back into the production and other such things as well, like investment for future shows and plans. So we do appreciate it. It all counts. Every little helps, as they say at Tesco. Everyone in Europe's like, don't get that reference. Richie, story number 1 for the week. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot has been talking. He's been out doing the rounds after the Ubisoft Forward a few weeks back. And he made some comments during an interview on the Ubisoft website. So this wasn't like kind of a flippant thing that happened in a passing press junket. This was an actual interview via Ubisoft himself, and discussing the company's upcoming portfolio. He once again talked about introducing remakes, and then brought up obviously Ubisoft future plans for said remakes. And he said, and I quote, "Firstly, players can be excited about some remakes which will allow us to revisit some of the games we've created in the past and modernise them. There are worlds in some of our older Assassin's Creed games that are still extremely rich." So we did have a report feeding off the back of those quotes. We did have a report last year that claimed the Skull and Bones studio, who obviously want to get away from that as possible, that's Ubisoft Singapore, they're apparently heavily involved in a remake of fan favourite Assassin's Creed Black Flag. However, the project is supposedly still in its early stages, which makes sense. If they were still wrapping up on Skull and Bones, they wouldn't be full steam ahead on a full game or a remake just yet. And then, of course, there's also the probability of Assassin's Creed 2, which, Richie, you said you've recently just got the platinum in. So
yeah,
I guess it leaves us in this space where we know Assassin's Creed Shadows is out this winter. We've got Star Wars Outlaws is out, and this is pretty much going to be the biggest year for Ubisoft in probably a long time. But then they are a big company with a lot of studios making multiple titles, and it's no surprise that in a world of remakes and reboots that they have a good catalogue to go back into. And I think, having just finished Assassin's Creed 2, would you say that and Black Flag are probably the go-to ones?
No.
Where would you like them to go? The
go-to one, it's the obvious one, Assassin's Creed 1.
The go-to one, literally.
The one that you cannot play on modern hardware. Literally the one that you cannot play. So do that one. Start at 1, because that's the one I think is more so. Assassin's Creed 2, the Ezio collection,
yeah,
it's playable.
Oh, well, yeah, you got
it's all
like kind
just
of a
janky, but it's there, it's playable, and you can have a good time playing it. Assassin's Creed 1, it's just not there. So do that one.
Stranded.
And I think Assassin's Creed 1 could be a nice jumping off point, because they don't really revisit Altair after Assassin's Creed. When they do bits through like flashbacks in Assassin's Creed, like the Assassin's Creed 2 trilogy. But it'd be nice to go, you know what, we're going to go back to Assassin's Creed 1, remake it, and then we're going to go a sequel to that.
Yeah. I think Ubisoft intend, and I'll go back to using his quotes, is when he was pushed on asking for more information about what the Assassin's Creed experience looks like and how they pivot between Mirage, which was the more traditional style, and the giant open world RPG with the shadows. He was quoted as saying, "There will be plenty of experience variety. The goal is to have Assassin's Creed games that come out more regularly, but for it not to be the same experience every year. There are a lot of good things to come. including Assassin's Creed Hex, which we've already announced, and different games such as Shadows. So I think based on the cadence that we've got, we had Mirage last year, which was the small linear one. We've got Shadows this year. I think if Hex is coming next year, which is supposed to be the 1600s like horror one, which I think could be amazing if they nail like the horror elements right. I can kind of see where he's coming from. It's interesting how Assassin's Creed's gone. It's been going for so long. It's almost gone back around like fashion, where remember when we were getting them every single year annualized and people started to really criticize them, and now we're almost getting back to that.
I think they might be making a mistake because Ubisoft have been kind of condensing and panicking over games not doing well, so they're throwing all the weight behind Assassin's Creed. I think they're running the risk of going back to the problems they had, where they were like, it's too much Assassin's Creed. I already felt with Valhalla, they supported that game for too long. Yeah. It almost felt like they were terrified that you'd go away and play something else. That game was bigger than it needed to be. A lot of the content was bloated and not interesting. It was overall a good game, but it's like, I think they need to give Assassin's Creed a little bit of breathing room and not put all the eggs in the one basket. Yeah. So as you said, we've got Shadows coming out this year. We've just had Mirage. We've got Hex is already announced. Did they bring out Jade yet?
No, that was set for this year, but I think it's been pushed. And now they're talking about
Black Flag and they're talking about a remake of 2, and it's like, cool it a bit, maybe. Like, I'm not against the remake of Black Flag. I'm not against the remake of Assassin's Creed 2. We don't need to know about them. Focus on the stuff they've already announced.
Yeah, and we've also
it's okay to have a year off. And I think Ubisoft, rather than focusing so much on Assassin's Creed, should be trying to get other franchises working for them so they can have a year off Assassin's Creed without people getting Assassin's Creed fatigue.
I think this is where a lot of these big game companies now struggle with shareholders. And because Assassin's Creed undoubtedly is their biggest, and we've seen that from like the likes of Valhalla, I feel like if they go to a shareholders meeting without Assassin's Creed news in the back pocket, it's almost like it does them a disservice. But this is where they're trying to appease shareholders and not fan base.
Yeah, you can have it, but you kind of need to maybe explain to shareholders that games don't run on an annual cycle. That it might be on every other year. So we're going to have Assassin's Creed every other year. So yeah, you're in your stock prices, you are going to see the year comes out, you're going to see a spike, and it's going to tail off the next year, and it's going to spike again, and it's going to go off. But that is the normal cadence that you should expect buying into that company.
Oh, but it needs to go up, and up every single year.
That's not how the world works.
And obviously, this all feeds into the narrative of the Ubisoft Assassin's Creed Animus, formerly known as Infinite, where all of these games eventually going to be played through one browser, launcher, or portal. And that's why I think it makes sense to launch it. I forgot where I was going to go. My brain just shut down. Launch it with, the first one. Because that makes sense, right? You want to launch it with the original, and then all the other titles that are currently available, get them in there as well as like supplementary to the starting point. But you don't want to kickstart this big multi-connected portal without what started it all. It seems like such a disservice to the history of the whole franchise.
I think, honestly, if you started going, okay, we're going to do remakes, we're going to start from the beginning, start remake every game to get them to standard, you'd almost have to put Assassin's Creed on a 4-year cycle where you have your new main entry comes out. In 2 years' time, you have the remake. So we get Shadows this year. 2 years' time, we get Assassin's Creed 1. Then 2 years' time, we get the sequel to Shadows, whatever that is. 2 years' time, we get we get a remake of Assassin's Creed 2. And you can start that cadence going. And then you can sprinkle little stuff like Mirage and stuff, or when we had some of or DLC. So this is the thing, you don't need a brand new title every year because you could support Shadows into next year. Then the following year you get Assassin's Creed 1 comes out. Maybe then you have a small title like Mirage before you're back into the start of the cycle. So you are still bringing out content without overloading the market with new game.
Yeah. It's I mean, I can see it from both. As an Assassin's Creed fan, it really doesn't bother me because I've played them all, so I don't feel as overwhelmed by these remakes and stuff because I know what to expect. But I think if you were fairly new to the franchise and you maybe enjoyed Origins and you might have enjoyed Odyssey, skip Valhalla or something like that, and then you're getting hit with Mirage and then Shadows and then Hex, and then it might be very easy to go like, whoa, I don't have time.
It waters down the brand because then you get so many games you don't know what to play, and it goes, I'll get to them at some point.
Yeah.
And then that's what I did with Mirage. I like the look of Mirage, and I never got to it.
Or where do you even start if you've never played one before? Like, imagine if you're like 15, 16-year-old now and you think like, oh, these Assassin's Creed games look really good. And they're also cheap because Ubisoft dropped the price down to like less than a tenner usually for the older titles. Like, where do we even begin?
I'm not against this news at all. I just think they'll run the risk of Assassin's Creed is clearly their golden goose. They'll run the risk of overusing it, and then it becomes diminished again. If you go back to where it was with things like Unity and Syndicate, while retroactively people have kind of went praise specifically Syndicate nowadays.
Yeah,
but at the time them two games came out, the gaming industry was kind of done a bit with Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
To the point where they had to take a break and completely reboot the franchise for Origins.
Yeah. Which
you run the risk of going down that path again.
Yeah. It's do you learn from your mistakes is where it stands. I think I'm with you. I think one should be the logical choice to remake first, but if they redid Black Flag with some modern sensibilities that we've got from the RPG, because Black Flag was pushing open world RPG. Just a lot of it was at sea, so it maybe didn't feel as open world as the land-based ones do. But if they could kind of bring us Black Flag with the polish of like Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, I think that could be really attractive to go back to. And Black Flag is one of the very, very few Assassin's Creed games I actually don't have the platinum because of the online stuff. I think with the warships or something you had to do. The galleons, I can't remember what it was, but
that's something I completely remove. I completely remove the online stuff. But with Assassin's Creed Animus, I think they're more likely to put more stuff like that in.
Yeah, get it back in there. There was a really good one, which I don't know.
I still don't understand the point of.
I mean, we'll need to see because they haven't really told us fully what it is. There was an Assassin's Creed multiplayer. I want to say it was in Unity, possibly.
Unity had one, yeah.
And it might have been an early one. It might have been Revelations or something, where it was essentially like prop hunt, where you would drop into a world and there would be someone who would be an assassin and someone would be a Templar, and you had to blend in with the NPCs. You had to move your character around as though you were an NPC, so you had to be quite robotic, and you had to sit and blend in, and they would have like a little symbol to identify like roughly a location, but they had to use visuals to see where you were at. So you had to, like, it proper made you feel like an assassin because you had to really, really blend and use your environment to hide, whereas there was another real life human being trying to hunt you, and it did make for some really good cat and mouse dynamics, which Assassin's Creed is all about, but ultimately you got people just being assholes and ruined it for everyone.
You know what? Stuff like a smaller experience like that, rather than having it tied to a specific title, that's where Animus might come in well.
Like he's so like a seasonal...
We're not going to do one big multiplayer game and try and support it, but we can do, we decided to remake Unity, we're going to take the multiplayer features out of Unity, release it into Animus, and go, you know what, if you've got access to Assassin's Creed and Animus or whatever that is, or the game's free to play in there, but obviously you got download, you got payable cosmetics or something, but that can travel between different multiplayer modes. So you can have the big tentpole single player games, and then you have these little multiplayer experiences dotted around as well. Absolutely. To keep people in.
So plenty to come from the world of Assassin's Creed, which I'm sure will not relent for many, many years to come. It'll be one of those franchises that I think just outlives us all, quite frankly. Absolutely outlives us all. But nice to see that they are looking at getting the whole catalogue across potentially. Speaking of adding things to a catalogue, we got your PlayStation Plus updates for the month of July. These are the claimable games that if you have PlayStation Plus on any tier, you can jump in and claim them for yourself. We have Borderlands 3, the PS4 and PS5 edition dropping, NHL 24, PS4 and PS5 edition, Among Us, which I thought was already just a free-to-play game for some reason, or it was really cheap for the longest time, and some promotional stuff for Genshin Impact and the Sony Pictures Core weird tie-in bundle for movies and films. Richie,
Yeah.
I think Borderlands undoubtedly the cover star for this month, but overall, I think quite a weak month.
Yeah, I'd say it's quite weak. I like Borderlands 3 a lot. My big issue that I always had with Borderlands 3, because I'm actually kind of glad because it's nice to have this back in my library because I had it on Stadia.
Yeah, same. We put a couple of good
Yeah.
gameplay sessions with Tom back in the day on Stadia.
My only problem with Borderlands 3 is I'd rather play Borderlands 2. I just don't think it. I think Borderlands 2 holds up well enough, and I don't think Borderlands 3 is as good. It's perfectly good. I just think the stories and characters are just more interesting in 2.
That's fair. Remember Tales of the Borderlands?
I played the original. I didn't play the second one.
That Gearbox took in-house and published themselves. That wasn't Telltale. And it just kind of came and went with no marketing, no promotion. It's actually, you know what? If that's on a decent price, that's probably a fun little one to go back. Well, not even go back to, but experience for the first time.
It might even be in the PlayStation Plus or Xbox Game Pass catalog by now.
Because it reviewed quite well from what I remember, like 7 to 8. Obviously not as good as the first one because it was missing the quality Telltale writing. But yeah, it was like, what, last summer was it? Or maybe the summer before? Where it just kind of came and went without a whimper. But, you know, when you're after like just a small title, I can't imagine it was anything beyond 8 to 10 hours. So, interesting. But yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think Borderlands 3 is the flagship one of this month's offering. But overall, if you're not an NHL fan, or Among Us, again, for arguably for all intents and purposes, what was an indie game that did so well through the lockdown COVID times, and is a fun little game to play with friends. But I think for your monthly subscription, it's quite weak compared to what they could offer in the back catalogue. I think whether you say in Star Wars could have been a good one, but then on the flip side of that, it's on Game Pass, so it's reached that point where EA are willing to put it on other things. You were just on mute when you give me that answer there, so I don't know if you want to repeat.
I think Among Us, you can get Among Us on Steam at the moment for £2.39.
So yeah, nothing to worry about there then. And I guess we've got Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, I feel like half a year ago maybe as well on PlayStation Plus. And do you think this is potentially stoking the flames for what could be Borderlands 4? Because that must be close, right?
I don't know.
Tiny Tina was like, what, 2 and a bit years ago now? And that was something. This year, I think, later this summer.
This could be part of their strategy for the movie a bit, because we saw with things like with the Fallout TV show how many people decided to go back and play Fallout. They might be hoping for a bit of a lift from the movie. If the movie does well, people want to go back and play Borderlands. Yeah. Oh, I've got it on PlayStation Plus. So this might be like setting the stage a bit by giving it now. The movie comes out in August. So it's 1 month. It's only a month after this game.
Yeah.
It's in your library. I'll go back and play it, and it might just add some life back to the franchise. And then people might go, "Oh, I fancy playing Tiny Tina's." Or then maybe I wouldn't be surprised if later this year, say Game Awards, we get a Borderlands 4 announcement.
Yeah. Gearbox tend to show
if that's
for those
kind
things.
of their strategy, the marketing strategy, like give people Borderlands 3 now, get the movie out later the year. We'll hit them with Borderlands 4.
Yeah. The PlayStation Plus deal could also be, again, we don't really know how all these deals work behind the scenes, or what like the short turnaround is, or if it's agreed months and months in advance. But it could be something to be said about Embracer selling Gearbox over to 2K, and 2K go, well, we want a bit of immediate return on our investment here. What can we do? PlayStation, we'll give you a chunk of cash to put on PS Plus this month. Cool. And then 2K look at that as reclaiming a bit of their, was it like 400 million I think they got them for from them back? Well, not back, but fully from Embracer. But we'll never know. We'll never know.
Yeah, it might be actually that. Like, if we put this in PlayStation Plus, we'll get a bag of cash now. Probably not a big one, I wouldn't imagine. But we'll get a bag of cash, and that can go to offset the purchase.
Yeah, somewhat to maybe fund what transition needs, because again, there's always going to be liquidation and like things that transfer over with it.
There's overheads.
Yeah, so if they can get, I don't know, like just close to $1 million maybe from PlayStation, then that would cover, like I said, a lot of them transitional costs maybe, without really having to lift a finger. So that's just us theorizing, but the amount of money that gets swapped around with games sometimes is baffling. I saw somewhere this week, actually, I think I was listening to Sacred Symbols podcast. There was a company that went to a Chinese developer, and they were offered it was from an old indie company, I think, or an old PlayStation, like ex-devs. They were offered like a couple million just for consultancy. And it was like,
okay,
just purely because you've got industry expertise, your company is going to go to these Chinese firms who are trying to crack the gaming market in the West and just offer them a bag of cash just for some consultancy. Mad.
See, the thing is, yeah, like,
but we see
your
it.
Studio, it's where consultancy can be worth a lot of money because it can get you pointing in the right direction. And 1 million, not a lot of money if you make, say, let's say you sell, if you make let's say you make $10 per game sold as pure profit.
Mm-hmm.
You sell 100,000 games, there's that 1 million back. That's relatively easy.
Yeah.
Assuming the game's not a complete flop, but I mean, I assume you vet whoever you're getting in as a consultant quite well. But
there's a few do it. I'm sure Sean Layden, prior PlayStation CEOs, just started working for Tencent as a strategic advisor. So that's one where it's like you're already
rich cash right there.
Yeah, you're already rich as anything. You've pretty much finished your career. You've retired from a top role at PlayStation and been well revered for. He's arguably the best CEO they've had in recent history. And then Tencent just come along and go, look, you know the industry inside out. He's a bag of cash just to basically advise us for a couple of years and point us in the right direction. Easy money. When you're rich, get richer, right?
Yeah.
But we won't go into that. Overall, though, yeah, it's a poor month for PlayStation Plus. I think they've had a couple of bad swings for quite a while now. I don't really remember the last time I was like, "Whee!" Straight.
You know, I think they've changed the strategy of PlayStation Plus, where the free games are not as strong as they used to be, but the mid-month games are arguably stronger. But the mid-month games, you have to be on the higher tiers.
Yeah. Well, we know
I think that's the strategy there to get you into the higher tiers to convince you.
Well, we know the premium tier does well, looking at the last figures, so they're obviously doing the right thing. Again, it's kind of interesting when you look at we always talk about the Game Pass model, and just like Sony seem to be able to have their cake and eat it at the moment. They sell the most consoles, they have the Game Pass model in terms of PlayStation Plus, and then they have their traditional model, which is the claimable games, which everyone had for years until Game Pass folded into one and got rid of games with gold. And it just kind of, it doesn't matter if they put shit games out every month because premium numbers are still at the highest they've ever been. And I think it was last report there's like 120 million active PS Plus users. So they just keep doing the right thing, seemingly. They can't seem to get out their own way and they don't need to. Moving on, though, next story of the week, Richie. We have some news from Capcom ahead of their Capcom Next event that's happening later this week. I'm not sure what date it was exactly, but they're going to do a rundown of Monster Hunter and a couple of other things coming out soon. Capcom's slapstick comedy series Dead Rising has been reanimated with a deluxe remaster version of the 2006 original, launching for multiple platforms later on this year on August the 1st. I say later this year, actually, in just over a month on multiple platforms. For those who aren't familiar with it, it's a third-person zombie game set in a mall where you basically go around and smash people's heads in with unique created weapons of your own doing. Did you ever play Dead Rising back in the day? I've played it. I feel like my brother was really into these games. Just like it's almost like the comedy of Zombieland, and it's like Zombieland meets Left 4 Dead, I guess, but it's third person, so it's a little bit different. Fun though. Like again, you start off in a mall and you just have to kind of go through it. It's got a kind of Saints Row comedy through it. Is probably the best way I could describe. And it's getting a remaster.
Again, it's already had a remaster. Dead Rising 1's already had a remaster, so I'm not quite sure. The remastering a remaster?
Deluxe remaster. They're calling it Deluxe. All they've really told us from the initial portfolio was that it's going to come with new textures. It's going to come with better light dynamics. And that's all we know until the event later on this week.
Yeah. Oh, look, we'll keep an eye on it. Probably report back more next week. But yeah, I'm not sure what to expect. As someone who's not played the games before, I'm not really sure what to expect. I found it weird that the auto remaster already exists and they're doing another one.
I think it's ultimately just cashing in on a franchise that's probably not meriting a new entry. So we'll just kind of get a boost of cash from it. It was a fun game, but it was very much ultimately a PlayStation 3 era title where there's no real story to it. Like Saints Row, there's no real story to it. It's just daft fun. I think one of the weapons you had was like a rowing paddle with like two chainsaws on the end or something. So it's like just zany blow zombies to bits.
Yeah, I wonder if part of it might be to gauge appetite. Let's do a remaster, see how it responds, see what the chatter is about the game, and then decide if they're going to greenlight another game in the series.
Yeah, quite possibly. Got quite a lot of zombie games recently, I feel like. But tell you what we haven't got, Richie.
What?
Star Wars Bounty Hunter Remake. This comes from Aspyr. So the 2002 action-adventure game is getting a remake courtesy of Aspyr. The developer describes it as a new title. New title? Not really. That brings the original Star Wars Bounty Hunter to modern platforms with visual enhancements, improved environmental textures, new dynamic light effects, and a new flashlight tool. Coming out August 1st. It'll be priced at £20. In this game, for those who don't know, you play as Jango Fett and you basically go along through all multiple Star Wars themes and hunt down bounties, which is it is kind of the perfect Star Wars game to not include lightsabers because it's got a cool premise. You get to visit all the locations, but you don't have to have the kind of whole Force Jedi thing looming over the story. It's kind of what we wanted from 1313.
I kind of feel like it's almost a spiritual successor to like the N64 classic Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah, I would agree. Gives like a darker twist on it.
Yeah. It's interesting because Aspyr is one of them. I don't have a clue what to expect from them nowadays.
I mean, I don't really...
They used to be Embrace. No, they are Embracer now. They used to be Saber. Then Saber was bought by Embracer, but then Saber's been let go by Embracer. So Aspyr is just under Embracer right now.
Yeah, and remember they recently just had the Knights of the Old Republic remake taken off them.
Yeah.
Because of how bad the showing was. Remember, Knights of the Old Republic remake was going to be a Sony exclusive. PlayStation showed it off at the showcase a few years back. Another year or two passed, they showed it to Sony in its current state, and they were not happy, and it got pulled from them. They pulled
the plug.
Yeah, and then now it's back, as you said, with Embracer.
Embracer at the moment, any game from Embracer is always going to have a question mark over me.
Yeah,
for me.
And then now
just because the track record isn't there.
Yeah, and then doubly because of Aspyr now, because seemingly they've messed up. I know they did the ports of a few Star Wars games to Switch over the last couple of years, but they had a couple of layoffs. It's an interesting one. But in terms of the game, I think the game's great. I think we're seeing a lot of games ported now from that era. I think Disney have very much we have a back catalogue of loads of titles we inherited from the Star Wars IP. Why are we doing nothing with them? Like, if you think about it, over the last couple of months, we've had so many Star Wars titles from the early 2000s get remakes and port. We have Episode 1 Pod Racer. We've had some of the other fighting titles. We've had Battlefront just have its double terrible launch that happened as well. So we've had some good and some bad, but yeah.
I am a big fan of remakes because it gives old games a new lease of life and can get them in front of audience who've never played them before.
Mm-hmm.
But my caveat is always going to be the same. It shouldn't delete the original.
No.
They can coexist, so people want that original experience, preserve that art form as it was originally conceived, should be able to access it. And then if you want the remake, you can have it. Like, I think a good example of that is actually Square, what they've done with Final Fantasy VII. You can get Final Fantasy VII, the original version, on your PlayStation 5. Or you can buy 2/3 of the game with the remakes.
Patience.
But it's having your cake and eat it too. I just don't see... when you see, we'll bring out remakes, so we're going to pull the original from the store. Like, I think, didn't Rockstar do it with the Grand Theft Auto remasters?
They did, yeah. They got rid of them.
It's like, yeah, it's stuff like that. I just don't see why. I don't see who benefits in that situation.
not the consumer. That's for
Yeah.
certain. So yeah, it's an interesting one with Aspire, but at least with the older games, you'd like to think how could they get them wrong? Because as you've said many times, I think before on the show, is that the DNA, the groundwork has already been done for you. So as a minimum, it should function because you're talking a game that's existed for many, many years. So
that's my argument for a remaster: is the remaster should be better than the original because it's original that you're doing more work on.
Yeah.
So like with the Grand Theft Auto like remasters being objectively worse than the originals, like
how?
That's just how.
I
know part of the new hardware is going to have problems, but you're remastering the game, deal with the problems before you bring it out.
Yeah, true. To give them some credit, though, they did recently work on the Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 remaster, and that was received pretty well. So
yeah, good.
Again, you can only hope. But Star Wars Bounty Hunter, it's a title that I think I only ever remember playing around my cousins, so I never really got my teeth into it, but it might be one if the price seems to be acceptable as well. I think if I'm in the right mood, could be one I go back to. Depend on the trophy list, actually. But moving on, away from some Star Wars news. We touched on it a couple of weeks ago, maybe, but if you remember, Richie, Life is Strange Double Exposure that was shown off at the Summer Game Fest. Surprised us, didn't expect it. Going back to the original, Max Caulfield's returned. And at the time, we thought, it looks very similar to another title, which of course it did, which was Lost Records Bloom and Rage. And this is where I think when we saw both trailers, we always get our wires crossed with which game is which because they look so similar. But that's because the Life is Strange original developers working at... Right, I need to get this right because just to make sure...
The original, it's Deck 9 of the new ones.
So Don't Nod made the first Life is Strange game for Square Enix, and then they went off and did their own thing. So they never made Life is Strange 2 or True Colors. That was Deck 9 came in to make those titles, who now work with Square Enix in a partnership. Don't Nod went off and did their own thing. They've made some other games, published some other games in the meantime. Their title that comes out is Bloom and Rage, which is coming out, which looks, for all intents and purposes, it looks like a Life is Strange game.
Yeah.
They've pushed their game out of this year as not to clash with Life is Strange. So in a weird roundabout way of things, they're getting out of their own way.
Yeah,
it's really weird. It's because they started this journey and then now they're about to make essentially the spiritual successor for all intents and purposes with the original devs, but their previous story lives on and their original character comes back.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get on. Which is the kicker. It's especially because Max is a character that they created.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I think this is a smart move because I think this game looks good. But I think it would be overshadowed by Life is Strange, which is the stronger IP. It's going to have the hype, a bit more hype from original Life is Strange fans with Max coming back.
Yeah.
There's going to be questions about what happened to Chloe.
Yeah.
Which ending? How does Life is Strange 1 end? Because there's multiple endings to that game. There's going to be a lot of chat around that, which Lost Records, Bloom and Rage isn't going to have.
Yeah.
So it's just unfortunately, I think Don't Nod made the right decision to get out of the way.
Yeah, they've pushed it back. So we know Life is Strange comes out later. I think it's October time. Life is Strange Double Exposure comes out, which did get like a stealth release. Like we didn't anticipate it at all. We were quite taken aback by it. So for that to then come out this year, and then I'm guessing the Don't Nod team probably looked at it and thought, well, like when they saw that announcement, they must have went, "Fuck's sake!"
When they saw the trailer for the first time, went, "Oh shit, they're doing Max."
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm sure they'll have maybe had friends over at Deck 9, maybe would have given them like a heads up, but they've pushed their game back to 2025. So if anything, it gives them a bit of time to polish up. But we've almost got like a Callisto Protocol Dead Space on our hands, where even though they're very different stories, no doubt, thematically they do pull on the same vibes, really, don't they? That like angsty teenage problems, story-driven adventure, decision-making. Like they both look great, in my opinion. But if I had to pick between one or two, I would go with Life is Strange 100% every time.
Yeah, same. It's a safer bet. But I think unlike Dead Space and Callisto Protocol, I think them two games are harder to coexist than these two games.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a funny one. It's a funny one, but I do think it's the right decision. I do hope it benefits both parties involved, because I'm sure the Deck 9 folks don't want to really step on the feet of the people who have essentially given them the source material for their game.
I wouldn't be surprised if like they picked up the phone when they've got, you know what, we're doing Life is Strange. We just want to give you a heads up.
Yeah,
it's going to be max, like between like the executives.
Well, again, we don't really know what happened behind the scenes when Dontnod kind of moved on, but it was Square Enix, I think, if you remember, with all the sales of when they sold Tomb Raider and stuff to Embracer. We were surprised Life is Strange was one of the few Western things that they kept hold of.
Yeah, they sold Tomb Raider but kept Life is Strange.
Yeah.
Which I love Life is Strange, but it's like, if you're looking at the size of them IPs, Tomb Raider wins.
Yeah, you would have kept Tomb Raider, right? But obviously they kept on off for whatever reasons, and Dontnod have done some great stuff. Banishers Ghost of New Eden was Dontnod that I played out. Yeah, so these guys are phenomenal storytellers. So I'm sure Bloom Range is going to be amazing. But you'll have to wait. It
might have been Dontnod wanting to stretch the wings a bit and not be tied to one franchise.
Yeah, potentially. But you'll have to wait and see. But yeah, double exposure, 29th of October. Looking forward to it. And I guess now, Richard, we have a bit of time to let them both breathe and enjoy them in their own pace. So not a terrible thing. Again, games getting delayed is better for you, pretty much every scenario. No game has been delayed and came out worse. I'd like to think.
Sat there right now,
except for Suicide Squad.
I have nothing to play. I know millions of people sat there with nothing to play while they're scrolling through their library of thousands of games.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell you what they could be playing. Elden Ring. In fact, tell you what, a lot of people are playing.
They probably are.
Elden Ring's DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, of course, launched only a couple of weeks back, and it's already surpassed 5 million sales worldwide, meaning that over 20% of players have returned to the title after the initial sales. So well done, you Tarnish folk out there who've gone back, and it absolutely baffles me how big FromSoft games are. They just have that magic. They just have that magic where I think if they just scrapped Elden Ring now as a franchise, right, we've done Elden Ring, we're going to make a new one. It's called, I don't know, Shadows Beyond, but it's in like the theme and the style of, and the combat that people love from these Souls-like games. It would still sell 15 plus million copies just because it's FromSoft making this type of game. What name did I just say? Shadows Beyond. That's quite a cool name. That I'll take it. Copyright. Copyright. Shadows Beyond.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they've just got a solid track record. I mean, Elden Ring was universally praised as basically one of the greatest games of all time when it came out. It's it's not a game style that is for me, but I do understand the appeal.
Mm-hmm.
I only get frustrated when every single game developer tries to copy it. What makes Dontnod? What makes like
FromSoft?
Life is Strange. FromSoft. What makes FromSoft's games special when the first really came out with the first Demon Souls and then into Dark Souls was they felt new, fresh, and unique. They didn't feel like every other game that was out there, and they've built their reputation on that and the quality they put into them. And the way they tell their stories is more about environmental storytelling rather than going, here's a cutscene, here's a cutscene, here's a cutscene, which I actually like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people like to read the lore and pile away at the layers and layers of lore that the game's written, and they are phenomenal at creating these worlds for people to exist in.
And some of the boss design is just immaculate.
Yeah, I was just giving them heaping tons of praise on them. I hadn't even mentioned one of the things that a lot of people go into these games for, the boss fights.
Yeah,
and if you think about it, so I'm not even surprised to hit this sales. I literally know someone whose boyfriend took a week off work to play the DLC. Not a day, a week.
I mean, that's what you need, yeah. It's a massive expansion, Shadow of the Erdtree. And this is where I think you and me appreciate them from a distance. Like, I would be all over this if it was more classic action RPG and it wasn't a Souls-like game. Because, like you said, the scope, the lore, the world, the characters, the boss fights, it's all singing my praises. I just watch a playthrough. I watch a weekly playthrough. There's a YouTube channel called RKG, which is 3 ex-IGN members who used to do the Shield Up podcast at IGN. So I used to watch them there, and they did similar to Kind of Funny. They branched off, did their own channel, and they specifically their channel is all about just playing things on the hardest difficulty. So they do like Resident Evil on the hardest difficulty, and other titles. Like, it's usually horror tinged as well, but they're doing Elden Ring, and they've currently just done like 25 weeks worth. They actually took a break and did a Dead Space 2 stream in between because of how long it takes to produce it, and they do a whole podcast on the side about the lore of Elden Ring. So if you're into Elden Ring, but like me, you just don't have the patience to play it. I think the guy currently is up to 660 deaths.
Yeah,
and it's like my patience would not withstand that. But I'm enjoying watching someone else suffer.
For me, it's not even a patience thing, because you can argue, it's a patience thing to spend enough time to get good enough to start enjoying the game. For me, when I have played Souls-like games, and I'm fighting a boss, I feel like I'm just banging my head against the wall. I find them just stressful.
Yeah.
Before I do get like that release when you finally conquer that challenge. You go, oh my God, it is amazing. I get why people get hooked on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I always remember the hours and hours of frustration I had getting to that point. And that's what stands out to me when I play them games. And that's why I'm not into them.
Yeah, the release
where
at the
other
end,
people are completely the other way around.
Yeah.
They get to see the reward. I see the effort. Just a brain wiring thing.
Yeah,
So.
it is. It's how you're wired, isn't it? Some people thrive off that kind of like the grind. Like, it's probably the same people who like bondage in the bedroom. Just gonna say, if you like being tied up and whipped and in pain, but you get that release at the end, then that's for you. Whereas I prefer to have fun the whole time, boys and girls.
If you like things quite kinky and your girlfriend isn't into it, play Elden Ring.
Yeah,
that's Chris's advice to you.
That's where you'll enjoy the suffer and the pain and the torture and the hurt. But yeah, shout out to Elden Ring. It's great to see. It's no surprise, and undoubtedly, hopefully, we'll get a sequel. And interesting enough, the back half of this show is, while it's fairly quiet news, we were going to talk about games that deserve sequels, because FromSoft feature quite heavily where they make an amazing, well-received game and then just move on. But we'll get into that, so stay tuned, keep it locked. One thing that we should probably all move on from is Beyond Good and Evil, Richie. We touched on it briefly last week with the anniversary edition that was surprisingly omitted from the Ubisoft Forward, but then it was teased and then it became truth, and the 20th anniversary is out now. You can go and enjoy it if you wish. And I asked the question, I think last week or the week before, to the chat and to the comments, do you care about Beyond Good and Evil? On its 20th anniversary, do you care about this Ubisoft title from yesteryear? No one commented. Nobody said anything. I'm sure there's one or two players out there. It's out now on Steam. It's got okay reviews. It's mostly positive. But I was looking at some of the Steam numbers, Richie. Bear in mind this only launched last week. It's got like peak concurrent of 493 people playing it.
That's a 24-hour peak. Yeah, I think this is exactly what I expected.
That's bad though, right? Even for, like, you would expect it in the world at least a few thousand people to be playing apparently a such revered and loved game from Ubisoft. Exactly, is it? It's talk about Ubisoft making good games, bad mistakes.
Yeah, there's probably loads of people have got a lot of nostalgia for this game. Really loved it when it came out, but it's a game that so that's who else is it appealing to though, other than them people. So this is it, and I don't think the IP is as strong as Ubisoft might think it is, because there's only one game, and the second game is literally a joke within the industry at the moment. How it's become vaporware. So it's I think there's a lot of people who might look at this game and go, you know what? I enjoyed that game. I'll play it at some point. Or it'll come on PlayStation Plus or Xbox Game Pass. I'll get it on the sale. Maybe next time I have Ubisoft Plus, I might jump into it at that point. I think there's a lot of people who look at it and go, not now.
Yeah, Beyond Good and Evil 2, to draw a line under it, was announced. Can you guess the year, Richie?
2015.
Longer.
Well, are we talking about when the original trailer came out? Or when they first started talking?
When Beyond Good and Evil 2 has been in development, it was announced in a certain year as the sequel to 2003's well-received Beyond Good and Evil.
Okay, 2008.
It holds the record. Yeah, you're all right. 2008 it was announced. So it holds the record for
awesome. That was a guess.
That was a good guess. Yeah, it holds the record for the longest delayed game ever. I think Duke Nukem, not forever. There was another Duke Nukem title that did hold the record, but I think Beyond Good and Evil has now just surpassed it. Yeah, we had a CGI trailer in 2008 that was accompanied with an announcement. And then we got nothing for over a decade, and then Ubisoft released a lengthy trailer. If you remember, I think we talked about this one, the 2017 E3 had a kind of like a re-release trailer. And then they keep saying they're working on it, they've got people in development.
Well, what is telling, I think, I've just went to Ubisoft's website for the Beyond Good and Evil, the Beyond Good and Evil 2 page. Under latest news, guess when the last entry was?
Probably the last trailer, so 2019.
No, you're close. July the 12th, 2020. So it's been almost 4 years since they've done even a news update on their own website.
They did reply to people regarding the anniversary edition this week with the posts about that and said, yes, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still in development, and we cannot wait for you to discover more about Jade's past in the anniversary edition.
Did anyone reply with why? Why is it still in development?
I mean, this is like Skull and Bones on acid, right? Just call it a day, Ubisoft. Just sack it off. Focus on other things.
It's weird because I think they're going to have to come out and explain the delays. They're going to have to give a solid explanation because, like, it's weird.
And also, nobody cares, though. So do they need if there's no one in the room listening, do you need to give anyone an explanation?
Yeah.
If a game falls in the forest, Richie, and there's no one around to see it die, does anyone give a shit?
Yeah.
Because we know the reason Skull and Bones kept its legs was because of the Singapore government's deal. And then we know they've cancelled, 7-8 projects over the last couple of years. Like Division Heartland just went. So it's like, why are you so committed to this game that clearly after this is an anniversary edition that has less than 1,000 people playing on Steam. Any other beloved classic.
Because the amount of money sank into this game will be so colossal.
Just tax rates.
They have to make some form of return. Otherwise, I have to write every single penny of that off.
Do it
as a failed project, and that would look terrible on the books. They're better off letting it come out and flop and making a handful of quid back.
I don't think they will, though.
Because at this point, what's another couple of million into that?
But how many years do you keep saying that for?
I don't know.
Either way, we'll never see this game. I don't think.
I'm surprised the shareholders haven't demanded it gets cancelled.
Maybe the shareholders are just all massive. The only Beyond Good and Evil fans in the world happen to be Ubisoft board members. That's it. This is Yves Guillemot's passion project, Le Passion.
It's just him. It's just he's the only one working on it.
It is. Speaking of passion projects, though, let's move away from gaming software onto a little bit of hardware news, Richie. We got the announcement as part of the Xbox blog this week that Xbox games will be coming to none other than Amazon's Fire TV stick. Play more games, no console needed. Reading from the Xbox blog, at Xbox, we're committed to bring the joy and community of gaming to everyone. Today, we're announcing a collaboration with Amazon where Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members in over 25 countries can play games directly from the Xbox app on select Fire TV devices via cloud gaming, giving people more choice in how they play their favourite games. It then goes on to talk about what games can be included, which variations of Fire Sticks are included, the 4K Max stick and the lower, cheaper entry cost. It's what we expect from cloud gaming. Anyone who's used a Chromecast or something in the past, stick the stick in your TV, open up the Xbox app, log into Game Pass Ultimate, boosh, you're away. Start playing. Obviously, with a Bluetooth enabled, probably your Stadia controller probably works because it's Bluetooth enabled now. So,
which I think is worth mentioning, it is the Fire TV Stick 4K and the 4K Max from 2023. They're the only ones stated. I think we can assume any subsequent ones will have this as well.
Yeah.
Older ones probably won't and may never get it, which is actually a big thing I want to check when I get around my girlfriend's later, because she has a Fire Stick. I want to know what year it's from. Because her having a Fire Stick makes me
play
Xbox. This actually is news that could directly impact my gaming life.
So you could play Jedi Survivor.
Potentially, depending on the air of a Fire Stick, though.
Interesting. Well, you'll have to give us some updates on that one. But I want to say a long time coming, but at the same time, it's an odd one because Amazon, in theory, is rival to Microsoft in the cloud gaming market. Like Amazon Luna, its direct rival, in fact, if anything, its biggest rival is Xbox cloud gaming. But then this is where I think Amazon, similar to Google, is it's such a big company. Do they even have a say in it? Is this just the Fire Stick department going, oh, we've been offered money from Microsoft, can we do this? And I don't think they'll have even crossed wires with the Luna team once to get this put through. Because you like to think the Luna team say no, but I don't think they have strong enough sway.
Yeah, the Luna team is such a probably inconsequential financial arm of Amazon that they have absolutely no say in anything. And this will be Amazon as a corporation talk to Microsoft as a corporation going, can we collaborate on this? Game Pass is good. It'll help us sell Fire Sticks. It'll help us sell TVs that have that technology pre-embedded.
Mm-hmm.
So going forward, because like a lot of third-party TVs, what might be using Amazon Fire Sticks technology baked in. So, yeah, I don't think Luna comes into the conversation. As long as Luna is on the Fire Stick, I don't think that team's going to kick up a fuss on this.
Which is typical, right? And we saw that a bit with Google when we saw them promoting gaming on Chromebooks and stuff, but not Stadia. And we'd hit our heads off a brick wall thinking you're marketing your competition on your tech when you have your own platform sat there doing nothing, you idiots. But then this is where it's corporation levels where there's so many tiers all speaking to different middle management who actually makes a decision. I think you're right. Stadia was ultimately too small for any sway in Google, and I think the Luna team's too small to have any sway here. They would have been batting. No, don't do this. Don't do this. We need Luna on Fire Sticks.
Yeah,
and then no, it doesn't happen. I will say this makes me want. Now Xbox are branching out onto other parties. Bring it to Chromecast, please, because I own about 100 Chromecasts.
Yeah,
it would be great if I could just have Xbox Cloud Gaming on my LG TVs via Chromecast, please.
I've got like 3 Chromecast Ultras in a drawer.
I think I just binned one of mine because it was just like, it was one of the old Ultras, and I was like, it's not worth my effort to sell it on Marketplace or something. It's like, just bin it.
Honestly, I think Chromecast is almost dead technology because most TVs have that technology built in anyway.
It's getting that way now, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I've got the Google TV downstairs and attached to my TV, but I've got an older Sony Smart TV, so it doesn't have as good technology as that. But if I bought a modern TV, I wouldn't bother putting a Chromecast in because why? Absolutely. What's the point? So I think it's the third-party dongle is actually a dying breed. It's one of them technologies I think in 5-10 years it'll be pretty much off the market.
Yeah, I think it was great to up power older TVs, but like you said, as people cycle into getting themselves a 4K TV and stuff, which I know you will do eventually, it will probably come with all those bells and whistles.
Because I was just shooting for girlfriends. You've seen a TV, it's awesome.
True. At some point, maybe then.
Yeah.
But it is a dwindling market, but it's got them big players. You got kind of like Roku, Chromecast, and Fire Stick, and then a bunch of other random third-party ones. But again, Microsoft, this is what their mantra and their approach has been for a long, long time now, is just putting their ecosystem everywhere possible. And this is another move that shows like that is the ultimate plan. Get Game Pass on any screen possible, and that will bring in the subscribers.
It's a long play where it makes Xbox synonymous with gaming, and the first thing people think of, and as you get new generations of people come through discovering gaming, Game Pass is on. It's just this Xbox is this thing already on the telly. Then later they find out, if I buy the box, I can get it even better quality.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the plan there to get people in, and because it's a subscription service, effectively, you pay a monthly fee, you have access to Microsoft's entire library.
Yep.
Oh yeah, but I want to buy this new game. I want to buy the new Assassin's Creed. Or think of something third party. I want to buy something from Square, Final Fantasy 42. I want to buy that. I need the disc. I'll have to buy the Xbox. So I think it can be a slow burn strategy that could get Microsoft.
Yeah. And this is what we said about
But it's a generational strategy rather than it's not next 5-10 years. We're talking 20-30 years for it really to bear fruit.
And this is what the investment in things like Activision, Blizzard King, we seemingly Microsoft have the capital to put down to play the long game and hope maybe they outspend the competition. We said with Google, like they had the right stuff, they just didn't have the heart to see it through. Like if they committed to it, we said about the young generation today who they play games on their phone, they play games anywhere, they use the subscription services, but they also are being penny pinched left, right and centre, and they don't want to drop, or they might not even have the ability to spend £500, £600 on a console. This is the generation that a 10-year-old now, but in 5 years, 6 years, 7 years time, when they're looking at getting their first job and their own money, and they go, well, rent costs a ton of money, electric's a rip-off, council tax is a joke, I love gaming, but I just can't afford it. And then they go, oh, well, here you go, your smart TV that you've got, your only piece of tech that you bought for your new house is a TV. You can play games on it.
We moan about it, but there's a reason why Amazon Luna focuses so much on Fortnite. Because for a lot of young people, that's what gaming is. Gaming is Fortnite, and it's from probably a lot of it on their phone. So then if you're playing that on Luna, and then, if you do get on Luna, you can play it on your phone, but then you can play it on your telly or your Chromebook or whatever.
Do you want to spend 500 quid?
When you get home. And then it's like, why would I spend 500 quid in the box? I have it.
It works, yeah. Like we've always said,
it's into the ecosystem.
Yeah. It's not the best it can look, but it's good enough.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people, again, if they're used to mobile gaming, anything's a step up from that. So either way. Moving on to some more Xbox news, though, as we wait for the Xbox refreshes coming this October, actually. A little birdie tells me this week, I've got some insider scoop knowledge that the Xbox refreshes will be coming this October. So, yeah, I don't have an exact date, but I've got your little window. So back end of October, I'm going to say. So, while we wait for that, though, one thing you will not be seeing this Christmas period is the Xbox cloud gaming device, Project Keystone, which we've covered quite a lot on this show and on our previous shows, XPass, and probably formerly the Sounds of Stadia podcast, I would imagine, at some point. The Xbox cloud gaming device looks like its patents have leaked, which shows some visual aids as to what it might look like. For audio listeners, it's literally just a square box with the ring design that the Series S has on it. It's got a little USB port, the Xbox unload button, and the branding. Don't know what colour it is because it's just a black and white paint image. But in question, it's kind of a prototype of what we would expect, Richie. We don't think they're pushing ahead with that. I think Phil said a couple of times they've explored it. Remember, it was sat on his shelf that one time when he teased us all by having it in the background. Everyone thought, oh my God, there's a tiny Xbox. But it looks like it's been canned. Their refocus, if anything, the Amazon Fire news is the kind of confirmation that Project Keystone is very much on the back burner for now.
Yeah, officially they were kind of saying that the reason they canned it is because they couldn't find a way to get it to the price point where
couldn't get it below $100, could they?
Yeah, they couldn't get it to a viable price point. Obviously, they got the Series S, which is in like the 250 range. Mm-hmm. So if you start knocking up too close to the Series S, what's the point of this? Buy the Series S.
Yeah.
So it has to be down, and then they've probably seen with smart TV technology improve. They've looked at things like the Chromecast and the Fire Stick and they've got the whole thing with the Samsung Gaming Hub. Is like, why we spend this money in this development for a product that we're struggling to get financially viable when the solution's already out there on the market? Let's just form partnerships with third-party manufacturers, and we're done.
Yeah, I think 6-7 years ago, they would have definitely wanted Project Keystone to sit in their portfolio. They've got their X as their flagship, they've got their S, which is their entry kind of level to home gaming, and then they've got the cloud alternative, where I think the way the market's evolved and the way funding is now, and Microsoft is no stranger to making layoffs and cutting costs, I think it's one of them things that it would have been a nice thing to have, but ultimately, as you've said there, the Fire Sticks, the partnerships with Samsung Gaming Hub and stuff, I think they do just a good enough job without having to put the R&D and the support in yourself. Like, how much more do you really get out of it by having your own cloud gaming box? I think the return is, it would be cool to have, but I think it's minimum, especially if the rumours are true of them pivoting towards a handheld. I think if your R&D costs can go and double down on a handheld device, they've got to pick one, right?
I think the size of this thing's problematic as well, because if originally we thought it was going to be like a dongle, like Chromecast, because we were
Yeah,
already
why
playing
not?
Stadia at the time. So that's what effect where I go, oh, you know what? If you don't want an ugly looking console in your living room, you stick a dongle in the back of the TV and a HDMI port. No one can see it. You have your Xbox, and all you do is you open a drawer. Oh, there's my controller. I go beep, and now I'm playing Xbox.
Yeah.
And I don't have this thing sat there. Like, you look at the size of the Series X and the PlayStation 5. A lot of people don't want that in the living room.
I mean, the PS5 barely fits in anyone's living room.
Yeah, the PS5 is ugly. It's like
It's huge.
And the Series X is just a black box. So, like, I don't know, some of the appeal of the size might have also been a factor, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising they couldn't get it smaller. It's probably more akin to an Apple TV box, if not a little bit wider on the flat front.
My assumption is this must be doing quite a bit of processing on the user end, rather than just being a straight video stream.
Yeah, through
where
a browser.
Stadia was like a video stream with a lot of tricks
Yeah.
to get it smooth. And I wonder if Xbox Cloud Gaming, even if you're doing through your PC or your Series X or Series S, is doing some processing on the console side.
Absolutely. But it seems like they get the best of both worlds this way for me. So I think rest in peace, Project Keystone. But either way,
it's Project Headstone now.
Project Headstone, yeah. But either way, some news for Xbox Cloud Gaming fans out there in the world. And Richie, that brings us to an end for all the weekly news. But I think sprinkled within our news of remakes and remasters, including Assassin's Creed, Dead Rising, some old games coming back, like Star Wars Bounty Hunter, Beyond Good and Evil Anniversary. I think it leads us to a good topical conversation point, which I wanted to kind of round out this week's show with. And that was video games that deserve a sequel. So there's quite a few. And what I would love, though, is we're going to go through a few now. If anyone in the comments lets us know, what video game would you love to see a sequel that never had one? So we're in a world of remakes and remasters, but there's some gems been left out in the cold through developer closing down or companies taking a different direction, or maybe sales didn't go so well. And we'll go through the list. We'll ping around. Richie, feel free to call them out. I want to start at the top of the list, which, to no surprise, The Order 1886.
Yeah, I don't think we need to go too much in depth on that one, because we did a full playthrough of The Order, where we pretty much in every single episode said the same thing. This game's amazing. I think what stunted it was the length of the game when it came out. But if you didn't pay full price for it, you got an amazing experience. It would be a brilliant TV show, or blah, 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 blah. Give us the next game.
Yeah, it pretty much is, isn't it? And yeah, we won't go too much on it, but I wanted to go back to The Order 1886 because a couple of these titles are first-party games. So they're kind of like stranded not only in the past, but also on one platform, which means a lot of people haven't experienced them because they either had an Xbox or a Nintendo Switch or something. And The Order 86 is one that every video you go to and look at the comments, people say the same thing as like, this deserves a sequel. It's the world, the characters, everything we gushed about in our full playthrough, which I absolutely encourage you all to go check out because you ain't getting a sequel anytime soon. The developers are now owned by Meta. So they ain't making deals with anyone outside of Facebook and Meta Quest. Yeah. The IP is probably owned by Sony, we suspect. So it's probably stuck in some kind of legal recourse somewhere.
It might be an IP hell where part of it's owned by Sony, part of it's now owned by Meta.
Yeah, this is one of them deals that would probably take 15, 20 years, an anniversary to pass, and then people at PlayStation and Meta go, should we go knock on Meta's door and just inquire if they want to like double team up on some kind of like sequel or remake or something? And it'll honestly, you're talking like PlayStation 7 or 8 maybe, but I do think it'll happen because, like I said, just go to any YouTube video for The Order, look at the comments, and all it is positive praise. Like I think people have actually forgot the negative side of it because the nostalgia's now really eaten. And I think when we played it, it looks so damn good still. It looks better than most games that come out today. Still,
I think. Yeah, I agree with that. I think part of the problem is I think it's become a cult classic.
Yeah.
Which is where we are very much in the camp who like very much revere this game. Yeah. But it doesn't with the complications around it, does it have the mass appeal? I think as I said, I think it would be better served as a TV show, because that's where I think the appeal will come strong.
And then remake it.
Then remake it, yeah.
Like do a
do a
Fallout.
sequel. Do a TV show, gets that mass market appeal,
Mm.
and then
could be a good approach. Come on, Meta, let's do it. Yeah, Order 86, it's ripe for the picking, I think. As a sidebar, if a remake of Order 86, not that I need to do much remaking to it, just put out a native PS5 version, would it sell more than Beyond Good and Evil's much revered 20th anniversary edition?
Yes.
Absolutely. It would shit all over it. So, that's an interesting one. I don't know why I have such hate for Beyond Good and Evil. Maybe it's the 15 years they've made us wait for the actual one. But yeah, that's my first choice. We do have a list of games. Again, I implore you in the comments to let us know what yours is if we don't quite cover it on this list, because there's some niche ones out there, of course, that people want. I know Perfect Dark has been one of those long ones that we are finally getting. So,
yeah.
Where do you want to go next, Richie, for games that deserve a sequel?
I want to tick a handful off the list in one go here.
Okay.
And that's the Valve games. Valve have a nasty habit of doing 2 games and then the franchise die. We're talking like Half-Life, we're talking Portal, there's a whole Team Fortress.
What's Counter-Strike up to? I feel like everyone plays Counter-Strike
I don't know,
Go?
but that's Counter-Strike Go, but I think it's not like a 2014 game.
Yeah, like it's ancient by game standards,
but still well supported.
Oh, it's like Steam's top 10 every month, so it's popular, but it's mad that it doesn't get a sequel.
Yeah, but so all the Valve stuff, but I don't want to talk
fair.
too much about that because that's one that's always been brought to death, but I think it just deserves mention. What I do want to bring to the table is Warcraft 3.
Oh, that's a
Not
good
World
shout.
of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Give me a Warcraft 4. Go back to the top-down strategy. Like, I think there's a game in there. It's been a long time, but I loved Warcraft 3.
Yeah, we had Reforged, didn't we? About 4 or 5 years ago, which was kind of like a remake. But I'm with you. Like I've said before on the show a couple of times, like I lost out on the transition to World of Warcraft because I think either I didn't like the change, or I didn't understand the subscription model, or my parents wouldn't pay for it at the time. I can't remember what it was because we were just daft teenagers. But I adored the art. Again, this is an era where I'm playing Command and Conquer, Battle for Middle-earth, Warcraft 3, like Age of Mythology. Like I was very much in. This was my shit on the PC. And then, like you said, World of Warcraft pivoted, and like to its credit, it's done amazing stuff. But it's a shame that top down is just kind of like left back in 2005.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know what
it was. And the game was great. The game and the DLC. What was the DLC? As something Wrath with the ice. Yeah,
Wrath of the Lich King, was it?
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah, where like that story is like was so good, and technically, you could argue the sequel to Warcraft 3 and its DLC was World of Warcraft Frozen Throne.
Yeah,
because that does finish the story effectively. So you do confront Arthas in that game.
Yeah.
At that point in World of Warcraft, which is actually where I kind of ended my World of Warcraft career. So
career.
My career is a bloody career, that game.
Yeah.
I did play a bit of Cataclysm, which was the next DLC, but I never fully got into it. But I did take down the Lich Arthas.
Yeah, Warcraft 3 was so good.
Yeah, so bring back Warcraft. Like I know World of Warcraft is doing well, but there's no reason why they can't coexist.
No, absolutely. And just off the back of that, is StarCraft still a thing as well?
Yeah,
StarCraft 2. I feel like we haven't had a 3 for StarCraft, right?
No, it's been a while, so maybe that's time. But again, I think Blizzard have been very good at supporting these games for a long time.
Oh, undoubtedly.
So there's still life in that game. It still does like all the esport events like Evo and stuff. It'll be there. So I think with a game like that, yes, I 100% agree. Maybe it's time to think about a sequel. But if the game's so well supported and it's got such a strong community, you risk fracturing it. So maybe they probably have plans for it, but waiting. They probably have a number when concurrence drops below a certain number of users for X amount of time. That's when we go, right, green light StarCraft.
Yeah. Oh, Warcraft. I'm just looking at footage for Warcraft 3 and it's like, oh man, it has literally that, like, it's Age of Empires, but it has like a high fantasy vibe, doesn't it?
And we don't talk about Reforged because that was just a broken mess. And it's like,
Did it not work?
Yeah, it had a lot of controversy when it came out as well. And they did the thing where they pulled the original from storefronts to force it by the Reforged, and the Reforged wasn't as good. So I was like, it was Activision at the height of being Activision, like
Bobby Kotick.
Like, you were better off playing the original game if you could get your hands on it.
So good. Good. Where do we want to go next? Again, if you're in the comments, let us know what title you're picking out. I want to jump so I had my PlayStation game. I want to jump over to Xbox to another one that we've played on the channel, Richie, which is Rise Son of Rome.
All right.
Purely because I hadn't played this game until, was it this year? Or was it last? It must have been before Christmas.
Yeah, I think it was the start of this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's so hard to think when you play through these. But yeah, Rise Son of Rome, for those who can't remember, it was an Xbox One launch title. So it's over a decade old now. We celebrated, like, part of the stream was it ironically celebrated its 10th anniversary, even though I'd never played it before. Similar to the Order 86, it was short. I definitely finished the campaign in probably less than 7-8 hours, I think, if I remember back at the stream. Definitely less than 10. Stunning visual showcase what the Xbox One was capable of, and holds up very much to today. Gameplay was fun, the storyline was intriguing, and then they just never did anything with it. And then similar to kind of the Order with the devs when it was Crytek who made it, and then they've kind of like obviously gone third party. They've not really put out any games. I think the Cry engine they kind of focus on a little bit more instead, like licensing that out. But then I think with Unreal 5 coming into its own, I feel like they've had problems behind the scenes. So I think this IP is undoubtedly probably owned by Xbox, but who really shepherds it? And I think this is something that Phil Spencer keeps getting asked at many of his public shows, where they ask, will we ever see a sequel to this? And he's always like, oh, well, we'll see. We'll see. Because I think there is a lot of love. Because if you remember, if you picked up an Xbox One, you tend to find launch window games. There's not really much to choose from. So I think people have an affinity for those like 3 or 4 select titles that's all you can play at the time. Remember, the Xbox One generation, no backwards compatibility. So like what you picked up on day one, like I did with PS4, those 5 games I picked up with my console, that's all I had until more came out. Yeah. Whereas now, obviously, you pick up a PS5 or a Series X, you've got thousands to go back to, especially with Game Pass. So I think Rise maybe gets lost in the mix a little bit. But at the time, lots of love for it. And as much as it was short, it was reviewed well. And I had a great time going back and playing it. So bring it on. There's always time. There's always people who have love for the Roman Empire and that history, that part of history as well. So, yeah, Rise Son of Rome. Give us a sequel.
Yeah, I'm struggling to think. You know, it's like one of them things where I bet you if we were drunk and sat at yours, we'd come up with a million games. But now we're recording the podcast, my brain just went blank. There's a few others that I've looked at the list. Things like one actually I don't agree with, but I want to put out there because I've seen in quite a few lists. And that's Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh,
I don't think that game.
You agree with it?
The reason is because I think it is such a standalone experience. Mm-hmm. I don't think that game needs a sequel. I don't think it wants a sequel. That game does what it wants. That game is intended to do. I think a sequel would just dilute the experience. I'm not sure. It's one of them. You'd have to have a bloody good idea for it. Otherwise, you're just risking rocking the boat on what's an amazing beloved game. So I don't know. It just feels like one of them.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's making a lot of lists, I think, because it is.
Yeah, I can see why it would make a lot of lists, because it's so well reviewed and critically acclaimed. But I think you're right. It just tells such a condensed story in its own right. Like by the end of it, it's almost like, right, job done. Princess Lady is saved. All the Colossi are gone. I did it. And then I think it's weird because it's quite a sombering experience, isn't it? Like by the end of it, like what you do in the game and take down these Colossi is kind of like, it's not a happy thing you're doing, even though they are like massive behemoth monsters for all intents and purposes. But the game does have that kind of like somber end where you've done the right thing, but did you do the right thing? And I think it does leave it on almost like The Last of Us note, where The Last of Us could have done without a sequel. Like the sequel's amazing, but it almost like didn't need it. And it's a shame with games because when they are successful, people clamber for more, which is understandable because we want more of what we've enjoyed. But I think you're right there. I think Shadow of the Colossus kind of stands on its own merits, and I don't think it needs it. But I can see why it makes a lot of these lists.
You know what? I've just been scrolling through some random lists to get ideas, and I found a Screen Rant one. It's admittedly the article's from 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So
that list needs a sequel.
Yeah, this list needs an update because Alan works on it.
Oy, I mean, they're not wrong. And having played them both, like
in 2017, they were absolutely right.
Yeah, and they were still
Pokemon Snap's on it as well.
Pokemon Snap, yeah, I could see that. I do want to pivot back to again. For me, it's the exclusives that I think are like semi-stranded. Days Gone. And I think Days Gone is very, very relevant because it was actually this week the ex-developer who was the guy who left the company. He's quite vocal about it, and he's had a couple of things out in the past couple of years of basically saying like, we had a sequel in mind, we had a trilogy in mind, like we had it mapped out. It was all going to part of this like 3-story arc. But obviously the studio laid him off, and there's a bunch of people who've left since. And I think the Bend team's gone through a lot of change, and Days Gone. It had a mixed launch because of technical issues and the PC version, but since then it's gone on to almost get that like cult classic status. But it's sold well, and that's the frustrating part. Days Gone on PC is like the third best-selling game after Spider-Man and God of War. So like millions and millions of copies, and it's sold well on PlayStation. So it's almost like it got cult following status within the year of its launch. It seems to be just PlayStation are the only ones who don't seem to vibe with it. Like the heads at PlayStation. Bend are now working on a different game. They fully openly said, like, we're working on a new project. We will not be continuing the Days Gone universe. And for me, that's a damn shame because I really, really enjoyed Days Gone. The horde mechanics, it's like the open world nature of it, the motorbike travel made it so unique. Deacon St. John, I think, is phenomenally acted. And against the guy who does Darth Maul and all the other stuff as well. Starkiller from the Force Unleashed games. He's been in a lot of video games, this guy. And yeah, it was fun. I have nothing but fond memories of playing Days Gone. I've got the Platinum Trophy, and I would have, if they said there's a sequel coming out in like 2, we probably would have been on maybe the next 2 years. I would have bought it day one. I would have probably went for the Platinum, and I would have thoroughly enjoyed it. So it is one that I'm totally on the audience side of. Fuck you, Sony. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're going off and making Concord and all these stupid and you canon Last of Us multiplayer, but a game that was single player, narrative driven, polished, first party, which should tick all of your boxes, apparently doesn't deserve it. So I think Bend got shafted a little bit by corporate.
I think as well, Days Gone was probably a bit too close to Last of Us 2. It did feel like it was like getting in that mix at the time, but
they came out a year apart, but I can see the themes following, like zombies are zombies at the end of the day, but playing them, they are different games.
Yeah. I've got a couple that I think you might agree with. I want to throw 2 very different games out at the same time. Battle for Middle-earth,
okay,
which I saw on the list, which reminded me of Shadow of War.
Oh, yeah.
Shadow of War, like, there you go.
2 phenomenal.
Forget fucking stupid Gollum games. Give me an actual good Lord of the Rings game.
Yeah.
2 very different games, but set in the same universe. Like,
yeah, Amazon actually mentioned, one of the directors over at Amazon said we will be getting updates soon on the Lord of the Rings game they're working on and the Tomb Raider game they're working on from Crystal. Not yet, but soon. But yeah, you're completely right with that one. Battle for Middle-earth 2, obviously made by EA back in the day. Been a long, long time, and the Lord of the Rings license has obviously moved hands a lot of times now. It now sits with Embracer, so unless
it's gettable though.
Again, this is where like Embracer need money, EA like money. Speak to each other and go, shall we do a remaster or a Middle-earth collection or a third entry in the series? Embracer, talk with us. You own the rights now. You can't make good games. We'll do it at EA. And just do something there. I'll bring in the right people who can.
You look at Jedi Survivor in Jedi Fallen Order.
Jedi.
Do that for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And you can also do Battle for Middle-earth while you've got the IP as well.
And as you said there, like the Shadow of War games and Shadow of Mordor are phenomenal. So, but how many more stories can you tell with Talion and his Wraith Celebrimbor. I'm not sure.
Maybe it's not a direct sequel, but a spiritual successor.
Spirits. Well, the Rings of Power is coming out soon. What else do I want to get? I mean, there's so many we could go into, isn't there? Sunset Overdrive, unfortunately stranded on Xbox as well. Made by Insomniac, now owned by PlayStation. Microsoft probably own the IP. With Microsoft now going multi-platform, I could see it actually having a resurgence. If they're willing to put Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush and stuff on PlayStation, why would they not go to Insomniac and go, do you want to port your standalone single-player title to it? Insomniac get a cash injection while we wait for Wolverine. Microsoft get... I would suspect Sunset Overdrive would sell better on PS5 than it ever did on Xbox as well, because it's very much a PlayStation game. Like, third person, bright and colourful, huge traversal mechanics. That is essentially was the DNA for Spider-Man, so it would get some goodwill from the Spider-Man audience. I think Sunset Overdrive is an easy win. I've never played it, and yet if it came to PS5, I'd be all over that, because it's Insomniac, which don't miss.
I mean, there's a million things we could throw out. I do have one I want to end on, which I think you'll agree with. Lego The Hobbit.
That doesn't need a sequel, that just needs fucking finishing. TT Games. You can't start a sequel until you finish what you've started. You bastards. Yeah, you're laughing, but you'll get to it one day and you'll be deeply disappointed. Let's go through just a couple of shouts as we round up the show. Banjo-Kazooie. Absolutely, like Rare.
You got Ukulele, which is a spiritual
It is,
success.
yeah, but I think Rare and Microsoft in-house, I think they need a platform mascot. Now they've seemingly killed Hi-Fi Rush, which was going to be the next one. Why not go back to the well with Banjo? Demon Souls and Bloodborne. We joked earlier on about FromSoft, but everyone's crying out for Bloodborne. Like, where the hell is Bloodborne 2?
Ghost of Tsushima.
I mean, that is getting one. We know that. We absolutely know that.
Not officially.
We know it, though.
There's never been an official statement that we're making number 2.
But I feel like for this list, it needs to be a certain amount of time needs to have passed as well. Dino Crisis. What the f*** are you doing, Capcom? Give me Dead Rising Remastered Deluxe Editions again when you already made them. Dino Crisis. Give it the remake treatment. Put it in the RE engine. Scare the shit out of little kids with modern-looking dinosaurs. Come on, stop leaving everything to Jurassic World to pull all the weight for dinos out there. And then Titanfall 2. One of the best shooters of recent years, and seemingly EA have moved on to Apex, and Titanfall just exists within the world of Apex now, which is such a shame because it's the best shooter campaign I think that's came out in the last decade. Unfortunate.
You know what? I think there's a lot of space in the comments for people to throw out their suggestions.
There is. There's a lot we haven't even mentioned ourselves, because this is essentially, if the news was even quieter, that would probably have been the whole episode. But it's obviously a passionate project which a lot of people can talk about. So we might come back to it.
Maybe on Discord.
Maybe on Discord, yeah. But the comments is where it's at. Before we round out the show, Richie, as always, this day in video game history. Let's look back. We're recording on the 28th of June, nice and early, so it should be up for members extra early. So if you're one of those folks who listens on a Monday and you think, you know what, I could really do with some GamerGuildTV sexiness over the weekend, well, you should join us as a member and you can get it extra early. 28th of June then, Richie, any standout titles for you in the SDRs?
Diablo 2, 24 years ago.
Wow, 24 years. That's crazy. Diablo 2 on PC. Nice one. Spider-Man 2, the movie, came out 20 years ago. The Tobey Maguire game on PS2 and Xbox, laying the foundations for what would be Spider-Man today.
June the 29th, you've mentioned it. Banjo-Kazooie.
Banjo-Kazooie, get it in there. Oh yeah, 26 years ago. N64. Jet Set Radio, we do another remake of that from Sega, of course. That was 24 years ago on the Dreamcast. Some good ones in and around here.
Hell yeah, going into June the 30th. A game that should be on that list from games that deserve a sequel. Technically, there was one, but it was a shitty mobile thingamajig that just killed everyone with microtransactions. Wow. Dungeon Keeper 2. Brilliant game.
Absolutely. What a list of games. And the final one for me, Guitar Hero, Aerosmith. Just because I loved Guitar Hero back in the day. Love Aerosmith. What a perfect band. 16 years ago when I was rocking out to that. But that's it for this week's show. So if you don't want to miss a thing, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the great content we do here at GamerGuildTV, like these roundups for things in yesteryear, like our weekly podcast, our live streams, every single week on the channel, consistent for nearly 5 years, every Monday, 8 a.m. You can find us on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and up there on podcast platform of your choosing. Just search for GamerGuildTV or the GamerGuild Podcast and you'll find me, Richie, and sometimes Rob rounding up all of the weekly video game news right here. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been GamerGuildTV. Thank you very much for watching. And remember, folks, play wherever makes you the happiest. Have a great week. And hopefully, we're in the quarterfinals, Richie. Hopefully.
Well done, England.
It's coming home.
Well
3-0. Bye.
Bye.